All right, awesome. Imagine for a moment that you're working in admissions for a large university and are tasked with finding students who will succeed not only in their degree, but also in their career afterwards. In the end, your decision comes down to two candidates. On the one hand, we have candidate A. They have a 95% average and strong extracurricular experience. On the other hand, we have candidate B. They only have an 80% average and weak extracurriculars. Who do you choose? Obviously, based on the information provided, candidate A seems like the obvious choice. However, what if I told you that candidate B would have actually been more successful if they'd been given the opportunity of a university education? What if I told you that candidate A was only able to succeed with expensive tutoring from their parents, while candidate B was held back looking after their siblings while their parents were out working? This example highlights the issues that arise in our society when the opportunities provided by parents have a significant impact on the outcome of the children's lives. The concept of being able to change your social status from that of your parents is known as social mobility. Social mobility creates societies that are stronger and more versatile, both socially and economically. It creates places where everyone feels that they can succeed. And in societies where everyone feels like they can succeed, people can stand behind a shared national vision. However, many people feel like the Canadian economy is no longer working for the good of the people. And this feeling is not unfounded. You're more than 60% less likely to reach the richest fifth than if you'd been born into the richest fifth. What's worse is that over the past 20 years of data collection, we've actually seen a 23% decrease in social mobility. These are worrying signs, and the effects are being shown already. One of the major effects of this decline in social mobility has been in youth optimism. For Canadians over the age of 60, we're the 8th happiest country on Earth. Yet for Canadians under the age of 30, we're the 58th happiest country on Earth. This difference of over 50 places is the second largest on Earth. And it's not just youth optimism that's at risk, it's also our democratic values. The three countries in the developed world with the weakest social mobility, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Italy, also have the strongest populist movements in the Western world. Social mobility is under threat and declining in Canada. However, there is good news. There is another path. And what's even better is the policies that we need to implement have already been laid out before us. In 2018, the OECD commissioned a report on what countries need to do so that they can strengthen social mobility. In Canada, it came down to two key aspects: education and local development policy. Let's start with education, what is possibly one of the most important aspects of social mobility. Education is one of the strongest indicators of income and success that we have in Canada. For someone with a college diploma, they can expect to earn an average of 23% more than someone with only a high school diploma. And someone with a university degree can expect to earn an additional 25% more than that. With so much emphasis placed on education in our systems, we would hope that access to it is relatively equal. However, the reality is in dire contrast to this. A study showed that if you're born in the richest fifth of the population, you're more than 65% more likely to achieve a university degree than if you'd been born in the poorest fifth of the population. We need serious work in our education system so that we can create fair access for everyone. A lot of these solutions actually start in high school. One of the greatest advantages that kids whose parents attended university have is the wealth of information that can be passed on about the university process and their systems. This information should not be a privilege. It should be available to everyone. And the tool that we have to implement this already stands before us. Career life education courses, which are already mandatory in most parts of Canada, need to be doing a better job to ensure that everyone has access to information about how to get into university, as well as the incomes and careers that they can expect with a given degree or the education level that they receive. However, this isn't how it is as it stands, and this needs to be changed. And even if we do implement this change in information about the university system, more work needs to be done. Let's look at the financial cost. When a student enters the university or post-secondary system, tuition becomes one of their largest expenses. At the moment, tuition is charged at a flat rate. This means that anyone receiving in a particular program has to pay the same dollar amount. This, in effect, turns into a regressive form of taxation, meaning that people whose parents are richer have to pay a higher percentage or a lower percentage of their income into the tuition system than if they had poorer parents. Imagine if this was how income tax worked. If you make $100,000, you pay 30% taxes. That if you pay if you make $50,000, you pay 60% taxes. It doesn't seem fair. It's exactly how our post-secondary tuition system is funded. This doesn't seem right, and there is a few solutions that have been floated. The most notable and common is that people say we should simply abolish tuition altogether. However, this would come at a cost of $20 billion a year to the Canadian taxpayer, and this doesn't seem right. There is another way, though. We can implement income-adjusted tuition, meaning that there's a fixed percentage of income that students need to pay of their parents' income so that everyone has equal access to the system. This means that richer students will be paying their fair share into the system, while poorer students will have greater access to post-secondary resources. Now let's look at another aspect of social mobility policy: local development. Canada ranks poorly compared to peer countries in providing opportunities to people who are born in disadvantaged regions. A lot of this has to do with our concentrations of wealth in large urban centers. This wouldn't necessarily be an issue, though, however, if everyone had the opportunity to move to these cities where they can increase their earnings later on in their life. However, as it stands, sky-high housing prices make this almost impossible for many people who are not born in these rich cities. This is largely due to the restrictive zoning and developing laws that have been put in place by local governments, which have limited supply and thus made the cities more unaffordable. So it's no surprise that when cities do implement more development and lower prices, there's an increase in social mobility. In fact, an American study showed that when the density of a city doubles, the social mobility also increases by 40%. We need to be taking action to increase density in our cities and free up the developers so that they can bring down prices. However, as it stands, local governments are incentivized to limit development so that they can keep home prices high and increase the wealth for homeowners who already live there. It creates a classic situation where everyone is working in their own logical self-interest, yet we create a situation that's not desirable for anyone. Think about it like this. Imagine you're attending a sports game. It's a little bit difficult to see the field, so you and a couple of the people around you decide to stand up so that you can see the field better. It seems like a logical idea. In doing so, however, you spark a chain reaction in which everyone is forced to stand up so that they can see the field at all. In the end, everyone is standing and no one can see the field any better. It's the same with housing policy. If every municipality is incentivized to keep their home prices high, we create a situation that's unaffordable for everyone. To counter this, we need action from the very top, which in this case are federal and provincial governments that need to be taking action to free up zoning laws and cut red tape so that we can increase development and lower prices. It's only in doing so that we can increase social mobility through local development. Let's take a step back, though, and remember why we need to be taking such drastic action on social mobility. Restoring social mobility is about restoring the essence of hope and fairness in our society. It's about building a country where every child, regardless of the family that they're born into, can succeed and achieve without barriers. Social mobility turns potential into progress and bridges the gap between aspiration and achievement. Canada needs serious work on social mobility. However, we know that the solutions that we need are already before us. If Canada puts in the work and wants to implement these policies to bring back social mobility, a brighter and fairer future is all but guaranteed. Thank you.